across the water, no solid ground beneath my feet. Every voice is getting louder, but no one's listening at all. Feels like we're just drifting farther and farther, watching everything fall. SOS, somebody come and save me from the insanity. I know, we put ourselves on this road, but I want to go back home. SOS, somebody please provide me just a little stability. My knees can't take too much more of the shaking I'm breaking. Promises like broken anchors pulling every ship off course. 'Cause speaking over people, but what are we fighting for? But I still have to believe in something so lost back then inside the flame. If we stop tearing at each other, then maybe, oh maybe, something will change. SOS, somebody come and save me from insanity. I know, we put ourselves on this road, but I want to go back home. SOS, somebody please provide me just a little stability. My knees can't take too much more of the shaking I'm breaking. Woke up to another one and same old story on repeat. Lines are drawn across the water, no solid ground beneath my feet. Every voice is getting louder, but no one's listening at all. Feels like we're just drifting farther and farther, watching.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you're here tonight. We have a lot to cover. I'm here with my co-host Josh Whitty.
Hello.
Sorry about being a little bit late. We had some technical difficulties getting into getting my Facebook to stream, but we're here now, and the world seems like it's on fire. Genuinely on fire, not even hyperbole.
I try to hide from it sometimes, and I was telling you today. I try
Yeah.
to, and it always finds me.
Man, it's one of those things, like if it did any good to hide from it, I think everybody.
Right.
But it's never a problem just to kind of tune out and get a little bit of peace of mind every now and then.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
You got to protect
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
too, but there's a lot going on diplomatically, militarily, and tonight we're going to break it all down for you. We're talking active war in the Middle East, ceasefire negotiations falling apart in real time, Trump headed to Beijing this week, and a potential military standoff with Cuba. Venezuela is in political limbo, and if we have time, we might get to that. But I want to talk about this Havana virus, hantavirus.
Yeah, I always say it wrong. Yeah,
Is it Hanta or Hanta?
Hanta. There you go.
Hantavirus.
Yeah.
This outbreak that they had on this cruise ship that's now spreading across multiple countries. So this is not a slow news week, but it is a historic one. And so let's go ahead and get into it. And I want to start with the biggest story right now, which is this ongoing U.S.-Iran conflict. Josh, if you don't mind pulling up a graphic 1A for us. And so, if everybody can see that, it's a little small. Actually, it's very small, but we're going to zoom in for you here.
There we go.
So what we're looking at right now is the Strait of Hormuz. You've probably heard about the fact that the United States has a blockade in the Gulf, but you've also probably heard about the fact that Iran has control over the Strait of Hormuz. And so I want to talk about those two things. And this graphic here kind of points out what those blockades actually look like, so you can kind of get an idea as to what's going on. Little in the kind of the north west portion of the Gulf, you'll see right there where Iran has kind of strategic control of the Strait of Hormuz. And once you get out of the strait and you're kind of getting into the Persian Gulf here, that's where the United States blockade is in effect. So what we have here is a situation which, back on February 28th of 2026, as everybody for the most part knows, the United States and Israel launched joint strikes with the stated goal of dismantling Iran's nuclear capabilities. And in response, which I think everybody kind of saw coming, Iran immediately closed the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategic critical waterways in the world. And so since then, we've seen gas prices, oil prices skyrocket. There's fertilizer shortages. And this is all having a pretty dramatic impact on the globe right now. Not just on Iran, not just on the United States, not just on our partners in the region, but globally. And so what happened was over the weekend, we've kind of been going back and forth with Iran on ceasefire negotiations, trying to get to a point to where they open back up the strait in exchange for concessions from the United States. All part of the negotiations. Iran on Sunday submitted a proposal through their Pakistani mediators. And on the surface, it looked like they were trying to be pretty reasonable. I mean, they were offering to transfer some of their highly enriched uranium to a third country. But here was the catch. They also demanded compensation that is for the damages that the United States has essentially caused through bombing, along with the Israelis. Iran wants to be paid back for that. And that was kind of a non-starter for Washington. Tehran also demanded that we essentially give them recognition of their sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that's problematic for a number of reasons, but just keep in mind the Strait of Hormuz was an international waterway before we started this campaign. Now it's become a flashpoint in negotiations and a central demand that Tehran is essentially making in order for ceasefire to take effect. And Josh, if you don't, you can go ahead and play that video for us. This is what Trump said in response to the Iranian counterproposal here recently.
What? For the time being, the ceasefire remains in place?
It's unbelievably weak, I would say. I would call it the weakest right now. After reading that piece of garbage they sent, I didn't even finish reading it. They said, I'm not going to waste my time reading it. I would say it's one of the weakest right now. It's on life support. They understand these are all medical people. Dr. Oz, life support is not a good thing. Do you agree?
Bad prognostic.
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support.
To find out what life support is, always refer to Dr. Oz, you know.
Sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living. But they changed their mind because they didn't put it in the paper. So when they sent us this document that we waited 4 days for, that should have taken 10 minutes to do, look, it's very simple. We get that. They guarantee no nuclear weapons for a very long period of time, and a couple of other minor things, but they just can't get there. So they agree with us, and then they take it back. When they say, does he have a plan? Yeah, I have a plan. The plan is very simple. You know, in war, you have to change. You have to be flexible. You have a lot of plans, but you have to do different plans in different days. But I have a great plan.
A lot of plans.
But the plan is they cannot have a nuclear weapon. And they didn't say that in their letter.
Mr. President.
Yes, I think we can go ahead and pause that. So that's the president's response to the Iranian counterproposal. And it sounds like we're pretty much back to where we started. Now, Trump has drawn a red line that he is not willing to necessarily negotiate on, which is uh, zero enrichment for the Iranian regime. Now, the sticking point comes into play because the Iranians have said they're not going to dismantle their nuclear facilities. And so, in the meantime, you have the diplomats engaging back and forth with one another. Meanwhile, the world continues to feel the economic pain of this crisis. Brent crude hit over $104 on Sunday, and the average U.S. gas price is now $4.52 a gallon. Every day this drags on is every day that Americans are paying more at the pump, and we're at an impasse right now, and it's unclear as to how this is exactly going to play out. But I want to talk about something that just happened a couple days ago because it's important, and it doesn't seem to me that it's getting enough attention. But it's a really big deal because it was not only surprising, but catastrophic in terms of this new Operation Freedom that the president had launched to essentially guide cargo vessels through the strait to get things moving again. And so on May 6th, Trump launched Project Freedom, which was this U.S. military operation designed to, again, reopen maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. And we're talking about, over 100 U.S. military aircraft creating this defensive umbrella for commercial ships trying to exit the strait. Now, it sounded like a bold move, and then Saudi Arabia said, no go. And Josh, if you can pull up graphic 2A for us. Now, Riyadh is one of America's closest allies in the Gulf, and they told Washington they would not allow us to use military aircraft to fly from their Prince Sultan Air Base or transit Saudi airspace to support this operation, Operation Freedom. Trump then personally called the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, to try to smooth this whole thing over, and that call went apparently nowhere. Then the operation was halted. I believe it lasted somewhere in the ballpark of 2 days. Now, why does this matter so much? I argue that it is because of the geography of this region. In certain corridors, using an ally's airspace isn't optional, it's necessary. It's the only viable path if you want to actually be able to do what the president is talking about doing through Operation Freedom. And a U.S. official confirmed that to the press. They confirmed this, that without Saudi cooperation, Project Freedom essentially just will not work. Now, the Saudi Arabia's official line was, quote, "We are pursuing de-escalation and we support Pakistan's mediation efforts. We did not allow the use of our airspace to support offensive military operations." That's interesting because the United States is framing this not so much as offensive operations, but essentially protection for cargo ships. Now, the Saudis are calling it offensive. And there just seems to be, much like with a lot of the messaging coming out of this region, a disconnect between what different people are saying. And we've seen this time and time again. I won't blame anybody specifically. I think that it's a very complex situation. But for there to be this level of confusion, I think, is telling. Now, a Saudi source denied to NBC News recently, saying that the U.S. forces will still have regular access. But multiple U.S. officials confirmed the story to NBC, and the operation was in fact halted. So I will leave it up to you to determine what you think happened. But the fact of the matter is, the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Every day that this drags on is another day that we fall into this deepening crisis that now is reaching a point to where they're looking at global food shortages. You're starting to hear this word famine pop up. Now that's really concerning because in foreign policy, when you start hearing the word famine, that used to be something that you would hear that word referred to in rural regions of Africa. Mm-hmm. And you're hearing it increasingly in connection with the Strait of Hormuz. And so that's just something to pay attention to. I mean, here in Midland, Texas, we might not necessarily be feeling the effects of this quite yet. I mean, we're the preeminent oil and gas producing, area
Right.
in the United States. So when prices are high, I mean, we benefit from that. But what does that mean for the rest of the world that doesn't produce oil and gas?
Who
It doesn't
cares?
It's something to think about. So, moving on, I want to focus on another issue here, which is, again, a component in connection with this war in Iran, which is Israel and the ongoing offensive in Lebanon. Josh, and you can go ahead and kind of play. There should be a video in there on 3A. And if you want to mute it, you can just kind of keep this playing in the background. So the U.S. has brokered this ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon that apparently went into effect back on April 17th. But according to reporting out of Beirut, apparently the ceasefire is only a ceasefire in name only. There has not really been any cessation of firing. I mean, they're shooting at each other. They're bombing one another. And really, I say bombing one another. Israel is bombing Lebanon.
Yeah.
And going after Hezbollah. According to Fox News and additional reporting by Breitbart, 51 people have been killed by Israeli strikes in Lebanon in the last 24 hours alone. And that includes 2 medical workers. Now, since the ceasefire technically began on April 16th, 552 people have been killed. And, reporting has the overall death toll since Israel's operations began on March 2nd, nearing almost 3,000. Official number is 2,846. Now, the UN says at least 103 Lebanese medical workers have been killed in this ongoing conflict, with 230 more injured and over what has been 130 Israeli strikes. Lebanon has accused Israel of directly targeting health facilities in the I'm not sure exactly how to say this word, Jabil district, I believe.
That works for me.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
But over 1.2 million Lebanese people have been displaced, with more than 10 villages and towns receiving forced displacement orders. Now, Hezbollah has not stopped the fighting either. And for those who don't know, Hezbollah, even by the United States, is a terrorist organization. It is an Iranian-funded and militarily supplied proxy, meaning the Iranians use Hezbollah to launch strikes. I mean, Israel and Hezbollah have been fighting for a very long time. Same thing with Hamas in Gaza. Same thing with the Houthis in Yemen. These are all Iranian proxies, and so by no means are the Israelis just doing this because they want. I think there are generally real concerns, but the question becomes how careful are we being not to make sure that we're not just bombing civilians,
Right?
Because that's not okay either. We saw this in Gaza, and so with that said, to my knowledge, to the reporting, there has been one IDF soldier killed who died in the fighting on May 10th. And most recently, Hezbollah successfully repelled an Israeli ground force invasion that tried to invade in further into Lebanon, and Hezbollah was able to repel that. Obviously, not saying that that's a good thing, but just trying to give you an accurate depiction of what's going on the ground. Now, here's the diplomatic tension. Negotiations between Israel and Lebanon are scheduled in Washington May 14th and 15th, so just a few days from now. The U.S. State Department says the goal of the framework is a lasting peace, full restoration of Lebanese sovereignty, delineation of borders, and humanitarian relief. But Lebanon's precondition is that the Israelis stop the strikes before the talks can begin. Right now, those strikes are intensifying. So it's hard to see, from my point of view, how any meaningful diplomacy can happen in the current environment that we're seeing. Not to mention the fact that anytime you have a conflict like this, You're going to have the potential for large-scale humanitarian crises. The last major one that we saw was during the Syrian civil war. We saw it with ISIS, and that's a catastrophic situation that impacts not just Lebanon, not just Israel, but that entire region. So, moving forward, and this is where it gets pretty interesting. Josh, I want you to play this clip. It's a 60 minutes interview where 60 Minutes had Benjamin Netanyahu in, and I want you to hear what he said.
It's time for the state of Israel to re-examine and possibly reset its financial relationship to the United States, meaning what the United States provides to Israel on an annual basis.
Absolutely. I've said this to President Trump. I've said it to our own people. Their jaws dropped. But I said, look.
Well, what do you mean? What are you saying?
I want to draw down to zero the American financial support, the financial component of the military cooperation that we have, because we receive $3.8 billion a year, and I think that it's time that we weaned ourselves from the remaining military support.
Can you give me a timetable?
I said, let's start now and do it over the next decade, over the next 10 years, but I want to start now. I don't want to wait for the next Congress. I want to start now. It could go down very fast.
So that's Josh, a pretty remarkable statement from a country that's right now facing threats pretty much on every front.
Right.
What are your?
Yeah, I mean that I saw that also, and I'm like, I think it's great. I think that every country should be able to stand on their own. Like, honestly, if you're not able to stand on your own, how can you even see yourself as like a legitimate country?
How sovereign of a country?
Yeah, how sovereign of a country are you actually? So I think that like his sentiment is like it's like the I don't even know if you would say sentiment, like his train of thought is like good, but I also think it's probably a little bit of a, because like what's everyone's criticism? Oh, we give so much to Israel.
Yeah, so almost coming out of a place of necessity and seeing the writing on the wall as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like a turning of the tide where it's like, where I think the majority of the country probably feels like the U.S. has pumped too much into other areas of the world, like kind of played to the tune of the globalists a little bit and just, played peacekeeper around the world. And I think Israel, Netanyahu, I think he's kind of like, like going for it. He's like, oh, okay. Let me get ahead of it. Yeah.
And keep in mind too, it wasn't that long ago before you had Trump, who was putting pressure on our NATO allies to spend more on their own defense budgets, right? Started off, I think, maybe as NATO didn't necessarily take that serious, but just like Netanyahu, I think NATO realized very quickly that things are changing, and if you don't get out in front of this change, you risk being not prepared for it,
right?
And I think it's interesting that all of this is happening at the same time when Israel is seemingly at odds with multiple countries in the region.
Yeah.
But I think the American people, generally speaking, probably look at this and say, good. $3.3 billion, that's a lot of money that we could probably put to use here back in the United States.
I think, and because I've put some thought into this, I think that all of these tensions we're seeing from these other countries really boil down to this exact issue of like, we're going to have to allocate more of our money to our own defense.
Yeah.
I looked at it not that long ago and I'm like, directly and indirectly, all the money we give to essentially the support we give to the UK is like 4 times what we give to Israel, and I'm like, but obviously they're a strategic partner. We got that special relationship and all that, but now they've got to find a way to make up for the gap that the U.S.,
Yeah. And interestingly enough, you have officials in the UK that are talking about this exact same thing right now.
Yeah.
Where they're looking at themselves and saying, "Oh my gosh, like we are not as prepared as we should be to stand on our own."
Yeah.
And and this is where I will give Trump a little bit of credit. I think
Clip it.
Clip it.
No.
Yeah. This is where, and look, Josh, you know me, man. Like I am willing to call a spade,
Yeah.
and I'm willing to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And this unpredictable nature about Donald Trump, in some ways, has been a good thing. In some ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, with that said, obviously, I'm not gonna throw a fit over the fact that more and more countries are willing to take on more responsibility when it comes to their personal welfare, right? I don't think that means, though, like, I think there's a way to accomplish that without completely trashing your relationship with your allies.
Right.
I think both things can happen. He's done one really well, and we're really struggling on the other side of this.
Yeah.
And, I would argue that the damage that has been done to our international partners, our partnerships, our relationships, that's going to take a long time to fix.
Yeah.
What I will say to that, though, is there's always this cooperation that happens behind the scenes with countries that the American people never see.
Right.
And that cooperation goes a lot deeper than just people getting their feelings hurt and discussing how they feel about what was said publicly.
Right.
That
Right.
makes sense.
And I think too that, like, the closed door stuff, I think that's kind of a problem too. Like, like if
We've talked about this.
yeah, you call out a country and you're like, hey, you need to be doing your part. Like, well, what do you do if they call your bluff? So like you said, that craziness, like there, we talked about this also before, where it's like, the only way that some people are going to be able to make a difference is if they just don't care about re-election later. Like, they blow up their own party, essentially. Like,
It's always been the argument with term limits, man.
Yeah.
If you don't care about, if you're not put in a position where you're constantly having a campaign and focusing on getting reelected every single second of every day of every year that you're in office, turns out you can be a little bit more honest about things.
Yeah.
You have less to lose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So what I was getting to is when, like, Spain, when they were just like, no, we're not going to.
Yeah.
And Trump's like, okay, we'll use your bases whether you like it or not. It's like calling a bluff and then raising it. They're raising it.
But this gets back to the idea, though. It was not long ago when all of these discussions that are spilling out in public.
Yeah.
It all happened behind closed doors.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can get away with a lot of that stuff when it's said behind closed doors.
Right.
But whenever you have a public that hears their leader being insulted,
yeah,
that all of a sudden changes the dynamic completely.
Yeah.
Because you're not just dealing with that one individual leader of a sovereign nation, you're dealing with that leader and the people within that country.
Right. Yeah.
That is why I believe it does us no good to be conducting diplomacy on Truth Social.
Right. Yeah.
It does us no good to have all these cameras, in the Oval Office every time we have a foreign leader. I understand that it feels like we're now a part of this in a big way.
Yeah.
Believe me when I say it is better if we are not.
Right.
More can be accomplished.
I think you're 100% right. And, like, to the point we were talking about the other day, it's like whenever you rip the lid off of it and you show the inner workings of the government, I think that's why a lot of people are scared. They're like, wait, this is actually really fragile.
It's so
and
fragile.
People see it now. They're like, well, used to, I thought there was this global elite of, cabal that was running things. And I no matter what happened, it was just going to run the way it ran. And then you rip the lid off and you're like, wait a second.
Oh my gosh, there's people in there.
Yeah.
They're it's human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's fascinating about it is that once you realize that these are just human beings, you understand all of a sudden that they are not, yes, they're very powerful.
Yeah.
Yes, they hold they bear an incredible responsibility, but they're really no different than us. The same thing that motivates them motivates us.
Yeah.
Right? if so,
not just not much different, but not smarter either.
no,
That's what
I would
surprises me the most often, you know?
In some cases, I would argue that well, I guess that's not. You would be surprised
Yeah.
how average some of these people are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just people.
Mm-hmm.
They're just people. And it turns out nobody likes to be insulted. And,
Yeah.
Relationships who would have thought?
thought?
So, you have all of this going on geopolitically. Trump is going to be in Beijing this coming week. Josh, if you don't mind pulling up graphic 5A. Now, what's interesting about this trip is that this is going to be an interesting one because of who's going to be on this trip. And it is going to include a bunch of CEOs. And it's taking place Thursday, Friday. So right around the same time that the Lebanon and Israeli ceasefire negotiations are going to be going on in D.C. And the president is traveling to Beijing to meet with the Chinese president Xi Jinping. And according to the Daily Caller, Trump is taking with him a stacked delegation of American corporate power. We're talking Elon Musk of Tesla, Tim Cook, Apple, Larry Fink of BlackRock, Boeing CEO, Goldman Sachs CEO, Citigroups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this trip was originally scheduled for, I believe, last month in April, but it was postponed due to the ongoing conflict in Iran. And then Trump is going to meet privately, I believe, with Xi Jinping. And this is going to be an interesting one because it's happening at a very critical time in the U.S.-Chinese relationship. Beijing right now, because of the volatility in the United States, Beijing is presenting itself as the stable, confident power in the world. The responsible alternative to the American volatility on the world stage. And, I warned about this a long time ago. When you have a situation where in the United States right now, where a lot of our allies don't feel like they can trust us, they're going to look somewhere. And Beijing is trying to present itself as being this global power that is stable and can provide what the United States is not providing right now. Now, China has also been positioning itself as this somewhat useful back channel to Iran. The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi visited Beijing recently, and China has been presenting itself to Trump as someone who can kind of lean into Tehran to help open up the strait. That gives Beijing a lot of leverage in these talks. Now, from some of the reports that I've read from some of the analysts, there is this sort of sense of caution that's being presented out there. The concern being that Beijing may use these meetings to kind of manage Trump, offering just enough on trade in Iran to get the U.S. to back off of some of these technology sanctions, critical minerals, other competitive pressures that right now are in place. In other words, a comfortable deal that ultimately favors Chinese strategic interests. Now, a lot of people consider Trump to be this wild card, but to me, the man is incredibly predictable too, in the sense that if you woo him, he likes you.
Right.
If you give him a something gold, you might be surprised how far it goes. How far it goes. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I think that unlike most foreign leaders, the Chinese have always played this very fascinating role. There's no real panic button in China, right? And it's largely because of the style of government that they have, right? They don't have elections every 4 years.
Yeah.
We're talking about a communist China.
Yeah.
And, for everything that China is, democracy has its weaknesses, and we are seeing that right now. China doesn't have to worry about a lot of this stuff. And that's how they can come up with a 100-year plan. Now, would I want to be a citizen of China over the United States? No, I wouldn't. Not right now.
Right.
Not right now by any means.
Yeah.
Right? I love freedom. I love democracy. But on the global stage, when you're talking about the geopolitical leverage that China has been able to utilize, a lot of that comes from the style of government that they have. And so we'll see what comes out of this meeting, but it's going to be certainly interesting. Josh, if you can pull up graphic 6A, and I'm going to jump over to Cuba real quick. So let's talk about Cuba, because this story recently kind of broke in a big way today. And Cuba it should be the blackout graphic. Cuba's in one of the worst economic and humanitarian crises that it's been in since the communist revolution. Their electrical grid has nearly collapsed. Blackouts in Havana are running for 15 hours per day sometimes. And there are severe shortages of fuel, food, medicine, with inflation completely out of control. According to Fox News, the Trump administration has now imposed over 240 sanctions and an oil embargo on Cuban fuel imports of up to 90%. They've intercepted tankers in international waters, and the U.S. right now has also reportedly offered Cuba tens of millions in humanitarian aid, free Starlink access, agricultural assistance, but it comes at a price. All in exchange for political and economic reforms, and Cuba has said no. Now, reportedly today, Trump was furious because it was his understanding that the Cuban regime was just going to collapse on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It is not collapsing on its own.
Yeah.
It's proving to be quite resilient, similar to Iran. In Iran, there was a CIA report that recently came out. I can't remember if it got leaked or not, but essentially said that Iran can go on with the Strait of Hormuz closed and with that blockade in effect for at least another 4 months. Now, fact check me on this if you'd like, folks, but apparently there's one person that Trump is pointing at, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't make me a little happy. Stephen Miller is catching a lot of the blame right now because of not just what's happening in Cuba, but now the president's having to backtrack a lot on his immigration policy because of the polling. And, I am no fan of Stephen Miller. Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, I think without Stephen Miller, you might have seen a different administration.
Really?
More successful administration in Trump's second term. Stephen Miller is a nut job, and he's largely one of the people that is causing a lot of the chaos. He's the architect of the immigration strategy.
Yeah.
You remember back whenever we were talking about Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, Greenland. Who was it that was out there on all the talking shows out front talking about the fact, oh, we're going to go and take Greenland, right? And then you had, I believe it was Senator Tom Tillis, being interviewed essentially saying somebody needs to shut that guy up. He's causing too much trouble and he's wrecking the president's agenda.
Yeah.
I don't know. Josh, you know as well as I do, there's always a chopping block with somebody's head on it, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially with Trump, man.
You just,
hey. He's, that show, The Apprentice, it's like, I thought it was just like made up, but it's his real personality. He's like, he just fires you.
I've heard his son. They're doing a reboot with his son.
That should be wonderful.
I swear I heard that. I think
they probably will. Yeah.
I'm
sure that'll be interesting. I'll never hear the end of it.
It'll be
on social media all the time.
It'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm exhausted, man.
People will watch, but it's just gonna be, every day there's gonna be a new clip of something, and I'll just ignore it like I ignore everything else.
No, you don't. You try to.
I try.
You try. But I'm here, man. I'm pulling you back in. So that's going on in Cuba. I mean, Josh, I want you to play this clip of what the president said, I believe a month or so ago in reference to Cuba. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if I have it labeled for you, but it should be on the sheet there.
6B, I think.
On taking Cuba, yes.
Yeah.
This is what the president said in reference to Cuba. Y'all might remember this.
I think Cuba.
This was kind of incredible. I couldn't believe he said this. I've never heard a president speak like this in my life.
It's in its own way, if tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. But I think Cuba's the end. All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I
Hopefully,
free it,
like
take
annexing,
it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the
Do
truth?
anything
They're a very
That is crazy.
weakened nation right now.
I can do anything I want with it. I mean, like, Josh, I have to ask, right? You like this guy a lot more than I do. I do not hide my disdain for the president. I don't. And I try to be diplomatic as far as, how I go about communicating with people. But this is just the way the man.
Well, I get it. Like, he probably shouldn't have said taking Cuba. But, I mean, honestly, strategically, it'd be awesome if we had Cuba. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but this is not a game of Monopoly, dude.
It is, though, a little bit.
It's not, though. I understand looking at it like that.
Yeah.
But you're talking about sovereign countries. When the United States decides that it can just take what it wants, that might makes right.
Mm-hmm.
And what signal does that send to the rest of the world? What signal does that send to Russia?
Well,
what signal does that send to China?
So if Cuba was like a successful country, well, obviously, you don't mess with it.
But why is Cuba not a successful country is my question.
Well, I mean, because they've decided to align with the wrong people,
Fair,
Yeah.
but we've talked about this,
Yeah.
right? I mean, a lot of these countries that we have chosen to target,
Yeah.
in particular Cuba, that history goes back a long way.
Yeah. Yeah.
A long way. Where the United States was exploiting Cuba long before the Cuban Missile Crisis. Right? Whenever we installed Batista and he was, turned, Havana into essentially a casino.
Right.
Everything, no matter if you were Cuban, no matter where you looked, everything was American. Everything
Right. Yeah.
didn't belong to you. None of it. The Cuban people owned none of it. Batista, was our guy, and the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. And that's what led to Fidel Castro. Now, we see the same thing with Iran, right? A lot of people choose to focus on Iran in this moment and just think of Iran through the lens of the last 20, 30 years. When in fact, U.S. involvement in Iran goes back all the way to the 1950s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like in Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say when I ask the question of why is Cuba not a successful nation, the United States has had an embargo on Cuba for decades.
Mm-hmm.
The Obama administration, I remember I went to, this was when I was still working in DC, and I went to the embassy the day that the Obama administration tried to normalize relations with the Cubans. I went to the embassy that day just to see what it would be like. And there were so many happy people because they felt like this was going to be a turning of the tide in U.S.-Cuban relations.
Yeah.
And it was for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of back where we started. Like, I mean, in order to enjoy a country and appreciate a country for what it is, you don't have to take it.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily mean take it, but I mean take it under our wing, make it a country just like we do with the UK, just like we do with Israel. Like, we don't take it as our own, but we take it into our alliance. That's really what I mean.
Sure.
I don't mean take the country, okay, well, now you're the US of Cuba now.
Get over here.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
yeah.
You want to be successful. We want you to be successful. We want your people to be happy. We want you to have everything. Mm-hmm. Let's partner up. That's the way I see it.
If that's the way we're describing it, then I'm on the same page.
Yeah.
But you don't do that by starving the people to death,
Right.
which is what we're doing right now.
Right.
And, you know, for me, there are more long-term ways to get a country to come within your orbit.
Right.
And I think one of the things that the United States has always done really well is they do that. We do that by being that example, that shining light on the hill, man.
Yeah.
That beacon of hope.
Jared says, I don't think the Cubans could get any poorer at this point. They'd be a rich country if they just become casinos.
Yeah, that's totally not true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Jared, they've been there. They've been there. That is why Fidel Castro came to power. Batista turned Cuba into a casino. People were not being educated. People didn't own businesses. It was all U.S. The poor got poorer. The rich got richer. We've been here.
How long was it like that? Like where it was casinos, essentially?
Under Batista?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure. I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say Batista. Well, let's not even guess. Why don't we just look it up real quick?
Yeah.
Fidel Castro, though, I mean, like, and I'm not saying I'm a Fidel Castro fan, but if, in order to understand history, you have to look at it through a clear lens. You have to ask yourself, I always tell people this, Josh. So South Africa, apartheid, Nelson Mandela, right?
Yeah.
We look at Nelson Mandela. Do we think Nelson Mandela is a bad guy? Of
No.
course
Yeah.
not, right?
Yeah.
How is it that Fidel Castro is this terrible, evil monster, which I think he did some terrible, evil things, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But how is it that you have a guy like Fidel Castro working with a guy like Nelson Mandela on the issue of apartheid?
Right.
Unless there's something more to that story there.
Right.
Right? Fidel Castro is a complicated, interesting figure. You can only try to assassinate somebody so many times before they eventually, will do whatever they feel like is necessary to keep
Right.
people
From
from
killing
trying
him?
to kill them. And in the case of Cuba, that was Nikita Khrushchev
Right.
saying, let us put some missiles in your country. That'll keep the United States out of
Right.
there.
Okay. Casinos in Cuba operated for roughly 30 to 40 years.
I mean, okay, so think about that.
Primarily from the 1920s until 1959, with a major boom in the 1950s during the Cuban Revolution.
Exactly.
Shut them down.
Right. Cuban Revolution being what? Fidel Castro. Now,
would you say that times were better then during the 30 and 40
it depends
years?
on what you define as better.
Yeah.
If you define, again, the poor getting poorer and the rich getting richer as better, well, it was better for some.
Right.
But if you look at the quality of education, was it better? Absolutely not. And
Yeah.
that was a big focus of Fidel Castro,
Yeah.
right? I mean, at the point in which because he tried to launch a coup that failed the first time. Came back, launched another coup. Kicks out Batista, takes power, nationalizes all the U.S. Not all immediately the U.S. industries. I think sugar was first, right? Gives it back to the Cuban people, puts a huge emphasis on education. And things were getting better in Cuba for the average person. Now, if there's one thing that I think we know, it's that socialism is a tough economic model,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And when you don't have a lot of that wealth on the, upfront, well, what do you have to distribute then? There were a lot of things I think that could have went differently as far as Cuba goes.
Right.
The United States, though, once they started nationalizing a lot of U.S. industries, and we retaliated, and then, it just kind of kept ramping up and ramping up and ramping up until it got to the point to where there was a full economic embargo on Cuba. And then we squeezed them, and we are still squeezing them.
Right.
So, Jared, I appreciate the comment, but things can definitely get better than just being poor. I've been poor.
Right. Yeah.
There's a difference between being poor and being hungry to the point of starvation.
I do believe a little bit in what Jared is saying, not necessarily casinos, but I think one way to
Economic development.
Yeah, exactly. You got
Yes.
to bring them into the fold.
You can bring them
Yeah.
into the fold.
Yeah.
Right? And I
Yeah.
think that there are models by which that could work. But in order for that to work, you need cooperation by that government.
Yeah.
Right? And you're not going to just get that. Look, I'll tell you this much. Venezuela is going to be an interesting case study. Because right now in Venezuela, right, you have Dulce Rodriguez, who, after we removed Nicolas Maduro, she was the vice president. She is now interim president in Venezuela. Still part of the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime has gone nowhere.
Yeah.
Maria Machado, who's the opposition leader, was in Spain just last month talking about how she was going to be returning to Venezuela because Venezuela was supposed to be having elections, right? Now, keep in mind, remember, Maria Machado, the opposition leader, this was the woman, excuse me, that gave Donald Trump her Nobel Peace Prize.
Right. Yeah.
Thinking that would give her a little bit of leverage to become the potential next leader of Venezuela. That is looking less and less and less likely.
Right.
She could very well go back to Venezuela and just be arrested. The Maduro regime still has the power. And if you think Dulce Rodriguez is just going to give that up.
I haven't seen anything on Venezuela in a while now.
It's largely out of the news. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna say, do you know if she's like kind of playing ball with the U.S.?
Dulce Rodriguez?
Yeah,
she's playing a lot of ball. I mean, so she's pretty much done a lot of what we've asked her to do.
Yeah.
In exchange, we've lifted sanctions on her, right? So there's been a quid pro quo going on that right now seems to be working in the favor of both her and the United States.
Yeah.
The issue is going to come into play where if we don't start doing something major as far as economic development in Venezuela, to where the Venezuelan people actually start seeing the fruits of this ongoing cooperation between Venezuela and the United States, how long is it going to be before they start calling for elections? Right. And when they start calling for elections, how long is it going to be before Maria Machado pops back up in Venezuela demanding elections?
Right.
And if something happens to the opposition leader while she's in Venezuela, where do we go from there? I don't know. I think that's what a lot of analysts are looking at, kind of wondering, like, this is either going to work out really well or it's not.
Right.
And
right.
it's hard to say. I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Mm-hmm. My guesses are always wrong these days. So.
Yeah, well, Josh, let's talk real quick about this Hanta.
Oh, yes.
Hantavirus. So, graphic 8A, the hantavirus. Let me give you a brief update on this. So, I want to be careful because the last thing, I mean, it's not like we have thousands of people watching our channel. Anyway,
right.
But I definitely don't want to cause a panic of any sort, right?
Like, Jared, don't lose your mind.
The hantavirus is becoming a more and more serious health concern. What happened April last month, this year, an outbreak of the virus, specifically the Andes strain, was identified on the Dutch cruise ship, the MV Hondius. Now, this ship left Argentina on April 1st, was apparently traveling through Antarctica, then to South Georgia, Tristan da Cunha, St. Helena, and the Ascension Island. The leading theory from Argentine investigators right now is that the first passenger was maybe infected. They're thinking it was a Dutch citizen who contracted this virus during like a 4-month road trip through Latin America, Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, and then got on board the ship. As of today, May 11th, it is May 11th, the case count has risen to 11 cases. There have been 3 deaths. According to reports, the ship docked in Tenerife in Spain's Canary Islands. Yesterday, 16 American passengers have now arrived at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. 15 of those are in quarantine. 1 has tested positive and is in the biocontainment unit. 2 other Americans were flown to Atlanta. 9 U.S. passengers who disembarked earlier are being monitored by state health departments in Texas, Georgia, Virginia, Arizona, and California. 8 French nationals who shared a flight with the sick passenger are now isolated in France, though none of them are showing any symptoms at this point. Now, here is the critical piece of information for context. This is not like COVID, where the transmission of this virus can happen just as easily as me and you sitting right here communicating with one another. It's my understanding that the hantavirus strains only spread from rodents to humans.
Yep.
And then the Andes virus is the one known exception that can spread from person to person. And that's why this cruise ship is, somewhat alarming public health officials.
I also read that human to human transfer is actually fairly difficult.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It has to be continuous. I mean, I don't think that it can happen if I just pass by you or if we're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
I think you have to be in the presence of somebody that is showing symptoms and is infected for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. The CDC and the World Health Organization are sort of both stressing that the risk to the general public remains extremely low. The World Health Organization director, General Tedros, who is personally leading a team in Tenerife, said directly that this is not another COVID, that the risk to the public is low. People shouldn't be scared and they shouldn't panic. Now put on your mask. I'm just kidding.
So I was actually researching it today, and so it's called the Andes strain because it was originally found originating from the Andes Mountains.
Okay, makes sense.
And that the first case was found documented in 1996. The hantavirus, however you say it, like the original strain or whatever, was in 1995. But scientists then said that this has been around for millennia because it's a virus that goes from rodent to rodent, and it's probably been around for millennia, and and there's actually from not the Andes specifically, but the hantavirus itself, like there's some statistics show there's been up to 100,000 known cases in all of history. So like it's not as new as what it seems from what the things I was reading. But
do you happen to know? I think I saw somewhere that the once you're infected, you have a 50-50 chance of living.
Right. So I was looking at that too, and depending on the strain, there's different strains. I forget, but there's what was it? One of the strains. Most of the strains anyway are like 1% or less, like casualty rate.
Casualty rate.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, 1% or less. And then there's the other ones. It might have been the Andes that was like 30 to 40%.
Okay.
Casualty, but
so I think according to the CDC, they've listed this as a level 3 emergency.
Yeah,
which is serious, but not necessarily a major public health concern.
Right.
So all that to say, folks, is we'll keep you updated if there are any updates, but doesn't seem like there's any panic.
Yeah.
I mean, we got other outbreaks of stuff happening.
True.
What was it? Measles? Was that the one that was?
I heard that one a long time ago. Something. Yeah.
Who knows?
Measles.
Um,
And they blamed it on RFK, and he's like, "These are cases from before I was elected, guys."
he makes himself an easy target, man. He makes himself an easy target. So this gets us to the heart of the live stream, which is kind of updated you on the foreign policy front. We got to talk about, Josh, the gerrymandering stuff going on.
Right.
I mean, this is getting insane.
Pretty crazy.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. I mean, I think we've seen enough of this to know Democrats do it, Republicans do it. What's happening right now is a little bit different, and I'll talk about that because it's actually different. What's happening right now is not. Last time it's happened to this extent was like in the 1970s, I believe. But to me, this is one of those issues that seems like we're sacrificing a lot as far as our constitutional democracy goes in exchange for the political win on the short-sighted political win up front.
Right.
I'll get your thoughts on it before we get into it, because there's kind of a lot to go through. I mean, like, how are you viewing this? We've talked about this a little bit, but how are you viewing it?
I feel like, personally, with all the gerrymandering that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is, to me, I think that all the gerrymandering should just like be dropped, and we should like draw our borders where natural borders lie, instead of all this like cutting, through districts and stuff like that. And I don't like the idea of like trying to create black only districts. It's like, because that's not the makeup of a city. That's not a makeup of the, like,
There's a history to this though, right?
Right.
That can't be dismissed.
Yes.
And I think the history and understanding the history is important. I'll put it to you this way, right? If it were the case that throughout American history, Jim Crow wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
The civil rights movement, therefore, never had to happen. You didn't have black people who died and fought for the right to vote to then have it taken away from them, to then have to fight for it again.
Right.
There's a long history of voter suppression within the black community that led to the Voting Rights Act, Section 2 in particular, being implemented to protect the black vote. Now,
I mean, black people can still vote.
They can still vote,
Yeah.
but what power do they have through their vote?
I mean, I guess it depends on like with their political leanings. It's like in Tennessee, the one district that is flipping right to Republican. It's an old white man.
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
getting rid of, and it's a black lady.
But that goes to show you,
It's
right?
like-
But doesn't that show you though that it's not about, for a lot of black folks in that portion area of Tennessee,
Yeah.
it's not just about having a black person elected into that seat.
Yeah.
It's about black people being able to choose who they elect,
Right.
right?
Well, I mean, but it's like, but you're giving it a party prejudice, though. It seems to me, it's like you're saying, oh, well, the Democrats don't have enough power in this area, so like we got to give them more. It's like, that's goofy. Like, this is how this community votes. It's like, I mean, like,
What do you-
change your policies.
What do
Like,
you, what do
to
you mean
me-
by that?
To me, I think it's great because then, we always talk about how Democrats have some of the weirdest, like, identity politics, all that stuff. It's because they can, and they can continue to have like these weird, like push these weird things because they have this barrier to keep them from losing power. They're like, they can continue to have these weird, like, policies or weird ideas of the way the government should be ran because they have something to fall back on. And it's like, if you take those walls down, government gets better altogether.
It could.
I mean, everyone has to have better policies. Everyone has to have better ideas.
I get that in theory.
Yeah.
I understand that in theory.
Yeah.
The history, though, would say the exact opposite of what you're saying.
Okay.
The history in areas like Tennessee,
Yeah.
and Memphis specifically, doesn't reflect that. It doesn't reflect that things get better for the black folks in an area like that. That area in Tennessee, in Memphis, as far as the racial tension goes back a long way.
Right.
A long way. Here's my thing, right? Because I agree with you in the sense that I don't view it as necessarily a Democrat thing. I view it as a political thing in the sense that when you create safe areas politically speaking, it diminishes the quality of the representation that comes out of that area, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Whether it's Democrat or Republican. Because I would argue Republicans get justice. Look at right now. Look at this moment right now.
Yeah.
This moment for me shows me that Republicans they don't have to do anything but scare voters into voting for them.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
All I have heard for the last year has been about illegal immigration, Muslims, Sharia law, trans people. None of those things impact me.
Right.
Not a single one of them. It is fear-based campaigning that sells. That's not what I care about.
Right.
What I care about is the economy.
Yeah.
What I care about is national security. Now, is there a
do
nexus?
you know why those things don't affect you right now? Because you live in Texas. If you lived in California in an extremely liberal,
If I lived in California,
well, think about it. Your daughter goes to school and she decides that she wants to be a boy.
Josh, how many trans people do you know?
Okay, so I don't know many.
Most people don't.
Yeah.
Because they make up less than 1% of the population.
I agree with that.
Just like Muslims in Texas.
Yeah.
I am not concerned about Muslims in Texas.
Right.
That is not my major concern. My major concern is the skyrocketing national debt.
Absolutely.
My major concern right now, and I want to say that it even has anything to do with policy, most of what I'm concerned about doesn't even involve policy because we can't talk about the policy.
Right.
Because it's the constant chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I understand, and it's not like I advocate for men and women's restrooms. What I'm saying is, how big of a problem is that?
Right.
How big of a problem is
Here,
it? Here,
it's not a problem at all.
But where is it a problem?
Well, man, I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, but one time is all it would take for me for it to be too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, if, luckily I've got boys that are all boy and they don't even listen to me.
You know what I'm more terrified of than a trans person walking in my daughter's bathroom?
Yeah.
I'm more worried about a pedophile or a sex trafficker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right?
For sure.
That is what I think we need to be more worried about.
Yeah.
The Disney Cruise Line. I was asking my wife about this on the way out of the door, and I don't. Maybe you've looked into this. I don't know. If you have, please tell me what happened on the Disney cruise ship.
Man,
it had to do with sex trafficking, child sex, something like that is a problem that is much more concerning to me than trans people.
Yeah,
man.
I absolutely agree. But I think that gets back to the whole So I kind of think of a lot of things in video game terms. Mm-hmm. It's like if you go and take this section of government's difficulty level and you turn it down to easy, then they can run around without putting their shields up. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And that's what I'm getting at. It's like they wouldn't be pushing these things. They wouldn't be behind these things. They wouldn't be trying to make you believe these things or say they're okay or whatever, or telling me that because I'm white, I'm a terrible person. I wouldn't hear that all the time. I see that stuff on Twitter. You probably didn't see this. There was a guy that they let remigrate into the UK who literally said, it's time to start killing white people. The UK government just let him back into the country. Insanity stuff like that.
That's stupid.
And it's those are the things that whenever I see a liberal, methodology, just the way they think, I'm like, why are you allowing this in your party?
And most Democrats actually agree with that.
Yeah.
When most Democrats, when they look at the leadership within the Democratic Party, Democrats are ticked off.
Yeah.
Most Democrats are, and I'm not even a Democrat, but I know enough Democrats to know.
Yeah.
A good buddy of mine, we used to be roommates when I was in DC. He now he owns I think it was the first all gluten-free, bakery in DC.
Oh wow!
Not because he's just some liberal who wanted to own a gluten-free.
Of course, some liberal owns.
But he has celiacs, right?
Okay,
he has celiacs. And DC didn't have it's hard. It's not just about being gluten-free.
Yeah.
Celiacs is on a whole nother level, right?
Yeah.
So he starts this bakery. Well, he lives in Pennsylvania, but he drives back and forth. And every time he's on the road, he gives me a call and just rails against Democrats.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like a big Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, that's what I'm saying. I know there's people, because you look at the Democrats of the early 2000s, I agree with everything they say pretty much.
Look, this is not a question of have both parties gotten insane.
Yeah.
Both parties are almost said it. Both parties are being really stupid right now, man.
Yeah.
They're being dumb. This is crazy. My thing is this. I did like. Do you really think this is a coincidence that Republicans going into this November midterm election were poised to get slaughtered,
Oh no!
and now all of
Yeah.
a sudden
Yeah.
we have this
Yeah.
mid-census redistricting
Right.
happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they're willing to go and carve up one of the only black districts in Memphis to
Right.
create a Republican safe seat.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do about, like the voting. This is about them giving themselves congressional seats so as to not lose the majority in the House of
Right.
Representatives. Everybody, I think, realizes that.
Yeah.
Like
But that being said, and like you said, both parties, like that's what the Democrats were doing also, and it's like it just keeps.
but
going
not
back
the
and forth.
not the mid-census stuff. And
Well,
like-
wasn't Virginia a 5-6, and then they decided to make it a 10-1?
But the difference is, and this is important. This is important because the whole idea of the Constitution and the framework behind a constitutional republic was to ensure that the majority couldn't run roughshod over the minority.
Right.
Right? Mob rule, as they call it. Now, what happened in Virginia, where you had a referendum. Now, we can obviously go back and forth on, as to the tactics that were used to get that proposition passed,
Yeah.
but they voted on it.
Yeah.
Republicans are going behind in closed door meetings and drawing these maps. The people aren't even getting a say so in this.
Right.
And to me, it's even in Florida, I read that the vast majority of Republicans didn't agree with the way DeSantis handled it.
Right.
I have to ask the question, like, where do you think this ends for?
Man.
And I also, I'll let you go ahead and answer, but I want to make sure that, like, because I get the sense too that sometimes we assume that when everybody knows what gerrymandering is,
Yeah.
right? I want to give a little backstory as to what it is, where it came from. But yeah, Josh, where do you think this ends?
I think you're this is the tip of the iceberg. I think there's a lot more to come. What that is, I don't know. I didn't even know like this is a strategy that could have been used or put into play. I think they're gonna I think both sides are gonna be pulling out all stops because I think it's such a. Both parties have gone so far. I think in both ways, it's kind of like to the point where nobody's sure. Like they're not sure if they have their voter base still. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of why I wish we could just draw these straight lines and then, hey, you be the best governance. Like pick the best course of governance. But it's like, but that's just too. That's too like.
There's a graphic I want you to pull
know.
up for me. I'm not sure which
It's
one
like
it
that
is.
makes too much sense. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, cracking and it's called cracking and I think it's in the other folder. Just back out of the
Okay.
do you see it in there?
Yes, packing.
Packing and cracking. Zoom in there, Josh, because cracking and packing. Okay, so one thing I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the basics of gerrymandering, right? For the people who might not know exactly like what it is, where it comes from, and why it's so damn dangerous, I want to give a little bit of a background, right? So let's start with the basics. Because a lot of people hear like the term gerrymandering and their eyes just like glaze over. I'm going to do my best to make it really simple. Every 10 years after the census, states redraw their lines of their congressional districts. Whoever draws those lines has enormous power, right? Because the shape of a district determines which voters are in it. And you have different methods for doing that. Because if you can control which voters are in which districts, then you control essentially who wins elections.
Right.
All of a sudden, it is less about us voting. It's more so about how are the congressional districts drawn.
Right.
So on this chart here, cracking. Actually, let's first start with packing. Packing means you cram as many of the opposing party's voters as possible into one single district. So yes, that means that that party will then win that district, but then you've neutralized essentially all the other voters elsewhere.
Right.
And then you have what's called cracking. Cracking is the second method of gerrymandering by which you take a community that tends to vote together and you slice it up across multiple districts. And this is what we saw in Memphis, so you dilute all the power so that they can never form a majority anywhere. Now, if you combine packing and cracking, which sounds like a
good Friday night. No.
Yeah, it sounds like a good Friday. But essentially, you can engineer an election outcome before a single vote is cast.
Yeah.
Now, in some Josh, I'm not kidding. In some states, people are already in the process of voting,
Yeah.
and they are going to essentially tell them,
That's right. They're
You're
going to
gonna
stop, and we got to. Yeah.
"That is crazy,
Yeah.
dude. That's
pretty
crazy."
wild.
But here's the number that should stop everyone cold, because as of right now, more than a quarter of all U.S. congressional seats have already been redrawn mid-decade. A quarter.
That's wild.
And of course, this is partisan arms race between Democrats and Republicans. But I want to take us back to a very specific year in American history, right? And that year is 1787. Because understanding what the founders were trying to build is essential to understanding why gerrymandering is so offensive to the entire premise of American democracy. So when the founders sat down, right, in Philadelphia to write the Constitution, they were terrified about two things being pulled in opposite directions. On one side, you had tyranny, right? So you had the king, the dictator, the all-powerful government that could crush individual rights on a whim. And then they just fought this exact revolution to try to get away from that. On the other side, and this is the part to me that people don't talk about enough, they were equally afraid of what James Madison called the tyranny of the majority, mob rule. The idea that 51% of the population could simply vote to oppress the other 49% of the country. Now, Madison, in the Federalist Papers number 10, wrote about this, and he said that arguably the single most political, he said that his central argument was that pure democracy is dangerous, which is why America is not a pure democracy, right? If it were a pure democracy, every one of our votes would be totaled up. Whoever gets the most votes wins, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not how this works. We have people that we elect to then vote on things on our behalf. But one thing that he was afraid of the most was a passionate majority just trampling on the rights of the minority, whether that be religious minorities, political minorities, racial minorities, or even just people with unpopular opinions. And so his solution was this republic that we now have, in which elected representatives and built-in structural protections that force compromise and shield those in the minority from being steamrolled by the majority. My concern, and my biggest concern, and what I think should be everybody's biggest concern, is the fact that we are destroying a system that was completely built on the idea of compromise. Without that compromise, and look, I get it. Own the libs. I get it. I get it. It's even fun to say, right? Yeah. Like, own the libs. But it's ridiculous, and in practice, we are doing irreparable damage to a process that was literally created to function under the idea of compromise. Yeah. Forcing two parties to slow down, think about what we're doing instead of just trampling over each other whenever we have power. I see the way that Republicans have essentially, and Josh, I don't know. Tell me if you disagree with me on this, man. The most frustrating thing for me to watch has been the way that Republicans have not acted, Republicans in Congress, that is, not acted like a co-equal branch of government. They've essentially let the president do whatever he wants.
Right. Yeah.
That's not the way this is supposed to work. And then you have guys like Thomas Massey, who are one of, in my opinion, one of the few conservatives actually left in Congress, who all of a sudden are the bad guy. He bucks the president over the Epstein files, and now he's on the hit list. He's voted with Republicans. He's voted with Trump, I want to say between 93 to 95% of the time. On the 2 times that it hasn't been the case, it's been over things like mass surveillance and releasing the Epstein files, which was a campaign promise.
Right.
Going to war in Iran, which was a campaign promise. Man, to be honest with you, like, and I'm not just trying to poke anybody in the eye here, I don't know what conservatism is anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
I mean, I almost feel like you could change the names of the parties now. Like, they're not even the same. And one thing with all this, I've heard some conservatives saying this is the end of the Democrat Party. Me personally, that kind of scares me, because if it is the end of the Democrat Party, they'll be able to shuck the unpopular opinions of the Democrat Party and create an entirely new party, or not even entirely new. It'd be the same. It's just they'll be able to shuck the unpopular opinions of that party. And I think you'd see a huge, huge backing of a party that had those liberal, like the liberal mindset without all the far left stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people fall into that, in all honesty.
Look, I'm telling you right now, Josh. First of all, if Republicans actually were, if the policies of the Trump administration were as popular as they try to make them seem,
Yeah.
they would not be doing this.
Yeah.
None of this would be happening. But everybody's seen the polling.
Yeah.
Everybody knows without this, extreme gerrymandering going on, Republicans definitely would have lost the House and probably would have lost the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that say to me? That says to me that the populace, the majority in America, don't like your ideas. You can't stop that from facing the music in that regard. It's going to happen one way or the other. It's just a matter of who's it going to be at the end of the day? Is it, if your goal is to destroy the Democratic Party, which is just, in my opinion, essential for I wouldn't want the Democrats to destroy Republicans any more than I would want the Republicans to destroy the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is that it's this gerrymandering that has allowed for people to be comfortable with these insane ideas.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that you can carve up a district to include everybody who thinks like you. You never have to worry about a primary opponent. There's no real challenge. You never have to worry about a general election.
Well, I guess the same thing. It's
I guess the primary opponent is all you have to worry about, right?
It's turning it down to easy mode again, and then now the Republicans won't have to have good policies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do,
and I hate it.
Yeah,
I want everyone to be on hard mode.
Man. Well, look, I'll tell you this much: whatever happens with all of this. Things are going to change. At the end of the day, things are going to change, man. There's been a lot that has been, I think, has been exposed to the American people about how this system actually works and how much we have a say-so in it. I mean, it would be a shame if it just all went back to being normal. Whatever normal even was, man. Because now I look back on it and I'm like, I mean, was it ever, or was I just stupid?
Right.
It was the facade that I just thought that, because it clearly, I mean, it's not like this all just happened randomly overnight, right? Like, we've been moving in this direction for a while, I think. And here we are, it's going to be interesting. I personally, I have to have faith in this system, or what am I doing any of this for?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to have faith in the system, you have to have faith in people. That sometimes can be a difficult thing. Because what I've learned is that this kind of gets back to the conversation of civics, understanding how your government functions. And I don't think a lot of people know how this is all supposed to work, because I've never seen it as being a fight between Democrats and Republicans like that. I mean, shoot, it wasn't but a few years ago that you can look back on Obama and Senator John McCain's relationship and be like, wow, look at that. I remember, I'll never forget it. It was the night that Senator McCain lost to Barack Obama in that presidential election. And Senator McCain was giving a speech to a large crowd of his supporters. And there were a number of people in the crowd that started heckling, not Senator McCain necessarily, but the fact that Barack Obama had won that election. And the way that Senator McCain stopped them was like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. Like, I've met this man. I think he's a good man. Our ideas might be different, but I think he's a good man. Dude, like, we've just gotten so far away from that. The decency.
Well, it turned into a sport, it almost feels like. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we're about to have a UFC fight at the White House.
Yeah, it turned into a sport. It
A
really
blood
did.
sport, man.
Yep.
Like, and I think a big part, like, it's almost like people who maybe just used to pay attention to this stuff on like the fringes, all of a sudden got immediate access to it, front row seats, to the greatest sporting event of their lifetime. Because that's the way they act. That's the way they treat it. They treat it as though they're at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it's their team about to score a touchdown.
Right.
Man, and I struggle to understand it. That mentality, man. I think that we've been sold this idea that, you know, we have to have enemies in one another. I certainly don't believe that. My fight is with this administration. It's not with, and it's not just it's the people that are abusing the system, in my opinion, and making it seem as though if you're a Democrat and you're a Republican, y'all have to hate each other because this guy wants to destroy America.
Yeah.
That is dangerous, man.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and I've never heard a president do that. Pit Americans against each other like he has. Dehumanize an entire another party that is essential to the health and the functionality of our democracy. I've never seen that. Dude, like, while at the same time criticizing that party for the violence that we see playing out politically. You know, it's to me, it's just, and not to say that they don't have a part in it, but that's the biggest gaslight ever. The language that comes from this administration now is incredible. And who was it that started this gerrymandering fight? It was the president. Called Abbott. I need what? I don't think he gave him a specific number, but I need some seats.
Yeah.
Let's do this. In Texas, I mean, we kicked this off. It's all wrong. I hate all of it.
Well, Biden made a huge mistake because didn't he sue whenever he was in office to keep Texas from gerrymandering, so it left the door open for whenever Trump?
Yeah, I had this conversation with a guy.
I'm like, isn't that like where if they would just let it happen? I don't know.
So
they wouldn't have had the opportunity to gerrymander.
There's an argument there. I think I had this conversation with a guy who brought up that exact same point, and you know, I think it just depends on how you look at it.
Right.
I think it depends on how. For me, it's like, yeah, we can get into the minutia of like these like civil lawsuits that were brought by the Biden administration, but like at the end of the day, it's like, did the president call the governor or not and ask him to do this?
Yeah.
Right. Like I want to point a stat. The short answer to your question is yes, that was a thing.
Yeah.
100%. And to be honest,
Do you know what? Like, I don't even know what was that about. Like, why the lawsuit to keep it from happening? Is it like
it was like something along the drawing gerrymandering or drawing districts in a way that they viewed as being racially
yeah,
manufactured or something.
right, right,
I'd have to look into the details. At the point in which it was brought up to me, I actually had to go and look it up because I was like, "What is he talking about?" Like, I remember there was some stuff going on, but I didn't know
yeah,
a lot of that stuff even happened. I don't think most people do. I mean, shoot, whenever you look at the how the elected representatives in Virginia were talking about it, they don't bring up the fact that they did what they did because of this lawsuit.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they bring up the fact that Texas redistricted mid-census at the bequest of the president.
yeah.
So that's why Virginia did what they did. So, I mean, yeah, I guess there might be a there, but I don't know how much that plays into the domino effect of what we're
Right,
seeing right
right,
now.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I honestly think that if Texas would have known what would ensue, I mean, I don't know. Maybe
Now, what do
that's
they
why
think was
did
going to
it.
happen? Like,
You know, I don't know. Maybe that is why they did it. I don't know, but
they told them that they were going to do that.
yeah, yeah,
California told Texas that they were going to do it if they followed through with this. You have to.
yeah,
I mean, like, what do you? If you're the Democrats, what do you do if you see what's taking place? You sit there.
right, right. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
Like, I don't. But we talked about a little bit about why, like the Voting Rights Act was important, and I want to tell you a story. Have you ever heard of a guy named Cleo Fields?
I've not.
Okay. So, Cleo Fields is an interesting figure, and he's the subject of what we saw in Louisiana, where Louisiana essentially took this man's seat from him. Right after, I mean, this is what caused a lot of what we see in Tennessee and what Alabama's talking about doing. But a lot of people, I think, don't know the history of this stuff. I mean, I remember one time my wife, I was telling her about Black Wall Street. Are you familiar with Black Wall Street?
Nope. Mm-mm.
It's not a surprise. A lot of white people don't know
Yeah,
about it,
never
right?
heard of it. Yeah.
It was a thriving, primarily black, if not all black, community, city in Tulsa. And you had black lawyers, black dentists, black physicians, oilmen, and they were doing really well. Per capita, they were doing better than most predominantly white areas in the United States at the time. And white people did not like that at all.
Yeah.
So they burned the entire city to the ground.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's a lot of history that doesn't get talked about in the United States that you really only know about if you're a black person.
Right.
Because it's not to sound cliche here, but like even if it's in a distant way, it's part of your culture, right? And with things like the Voting Rights Act, it's easy to, I think, for things to get lost in the sauce of well, yeah, like, why do we need to have protected communities of people who have a district where they get to exercise who they want to represent them through protections that maybe not other communities have? Because it didn't just happen by happenstance that way, right? I mean, there's been a long history of voter suppression in this country. And it really isn't that long ago. One thing that I want to talk about for a lot of people who don't know about it. So the 14th Amendment, Voting Rights Act, and Cleo Fields. All right. This is how the country tried to fix a problem that we had, and how those problems, those fixes that were in place, are being rolled back right. So after the Civil War, right, we had the 14th Amendment, which was added to the Constitution in 1868, designed specifically to close the gap in the original document that failed to protect Black Americans. And it was the Equal Protection Clause, which promised that no state could deny any person equal protection under the law. But within a few years post-Civil War era, you had Reconstruction that essentially collapsed. Racial gerrymandering became one of the primary tools used to systematically silence Black political power in the South for nearly a century. And then you had the Civil Rights Movement, which is what was in response to that in 1965, which is when Congress passed the Voting Rights Act. And one of the most consequential pieces of that legislation was Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which was specifically barred states from drawing districts in a way that diluted the voting power of non-white voters. And so for 60 years, Section 2 was the main guardrail protecting minority communities from having their political voice silenced. And enter this guy named Cleo Fields of Louisiana. He was first elected into Congress in 1993, right? Representing a majority African American district in Louisiana. In 1995, 2 years after he was elected, the district was ruled an unconstitutional, racist, racial gerrymander, and they redrew that district. And he was effectively removed from Congress after they redrew the district. And then so you fast forward 30 years, Louisiana's Black population makes up a third of that state, had one of the 6 congressional seats for 30 years. 1/6 of the representation, even though they are 1/3 of the population. That completely flies in the face of how apportionment in the population and representation is supposed to work in the United States, right? So, after years of litigation, federal courts ruled that Louisiana needed to draw a second majority Black district to comply with the Voting Rights Act. Louisiana did that. Cleo Fields, and I think I have a photo of this guy for anybody who wants to get an idea of who he is, what he looks like.
There we go.
This is Cleo Fields. And so he ran for that district in 2024, right? He won that district again after 30 years of being kicked out of Congress.
Wow.
And then the Supreme Court stepped in again. This is a quote from him, which I think is interesting. He said, "I have not spent a single day in Congress where there has not been a federal lawsuit against the district that I represent." And he said, "We went down this road 150 years ago with Reconstruction." So, like, for me, you have Memphis, primarily Black. You have a district like Cleo Fields represents, primarily Black. Yet we know some of the methods used in gerrymandering is cracking, where you take a minority district and you split it up to where they don't have any voting power. They will never get to elect anybody who represents them. That decision, because they just don't have the voting power to do that. To me, regardless of if you're a Republican or a Democrat, there's something wrong with that, in my opinion. And to do it mid-census, and for Republicans to do that behind closed doors, it right now, it's like, I just don't understand it. They have the Senate, the House, the White House. They could have done and moved forward with any policy they wanted to, and they chose these policies that the American people are now saying that they are not in favor of. They're unpopular now. But instead of facing the music, this is the path we're going down. It's like that. It's like you know, being like, if you're playing NCAA and you're playing a team that has every player turned up to like 99. There's no reason to lose that game.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yet somehow you found a way to still lose. But instead of finishing the game, you run up and you just turn the console off. Nope, it's over. You didn't win because we didn't finish it. It's like, okay, well, like I don't know how this is going to help our democracy.
Right.
I don't know how this is going to help our democracy. One thing I do know is this. The Supreme Court ruled on that case. It's called Louisiana versus Calais, right? That is Cleo Fields, the case with Cleo Fields District. 6-3 decision, right? So you're talking a split Supreme Court on political party lines. I mean, what is it? And interestingly enough, Chief Justice John Roberts, this has been his issue for a long, going back to like the 90s. And, for me, I wish, I wish we had more responsible people running our government on the federal and state level right now.
Right.
If we did, I don't think we'd be seeing a lot of this. All this political violence we're seeing, I don't think we'd be seeing. Anyway, we deserve better than this, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And shoot, who knows what'll come out? Maybe something good will come out of it. Who knows? Hey, but
one has to hope.
I will say this: in Tennessee, if it's primarily like black district, they're going to have a black representative there. Does that not like maybe?
Well, Tennessee. In Tennessee, it wasn't a black representative though, right?
Well,
are you talking about in Memphis, that district?
No, in no, yeah, Tennessee. Was it Tennessee?
The one that got all the news here recently?
I think it was
the
Tennessee.
Guy that was burning like the Confederate flag in the
Yeah. Where the Democrat was the old white man, and the person who's going to take over the seat is a black woman. I'm like, I mean,
the person who she's a black female, and I don't think she actually has any chance of actually taking over the seat. But she's running. But I think she's a Republican.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that. I mean that. And here's, I guess, it's probably because I'm not black.
But it's not about the color is what they're trying to say, right? They need somebody who's representing their interests.
Right.
So if you have a black Republican.
Well, okay, so like, your dad in Louisiana, right? Does he feel like he's not represented? Like
in New Orleans?
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like he's Republican. So
yeah, my dad feels just fine in the district he lives in.
Well, there, but you know what I'm saying? Like I think this idea that black people can't vote Republican, it's like
that's stupid.
Yeah,
like, I mean, look who you're talking to, dude.
Yeah.
I was a Republican up until this point.
Yeah.
Up until this point. Now I just don't know what Republican means anymore.
Right.
Like I would encourage anybody to tell me, because like a lot of the things and a lot of the reasons I viewed myself as a conservative Republican, I'm learning, are kind of bullshit.
Right.
People aren't standing for the Constitution, in my opinion, right now.
Right.
People aren't caring about the national debt or spending right now. People aren't caring about how reckless we are with our foreign policy right now.
Yeah.
People aren't caring about whether or not we have a federal overreach right now. We're inviting all the shoot. You saw that guy just like how I saw that guy get shot in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Had a gun at a protest.
Yeah.
And people had the audacity, Republicans had the audacity to say he shouldn't have had the gun at the
Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
So what do we stand for? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it just whatever Trump stands for? Because it seems like that to me sometimes, man. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or is it that a lot of Republicans are Republicans because they just hate Democrats that much?
Right. I think I'm in that camp, honestly. Like, I hate their ideas so much, and they
Democrats hate Democrats' ideas.
and
man.
I feel like they hate me too. In all honesty, I feel like they hate me.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Here's
And-
what I think sometimes
yeah.
there's this tendency to, I think we assume too much sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to cast a blanket over an entire party, or let's just say party.
Yeah.
Cast a blanket over them and say, this is what they think. Dude, if you understood who my brother was, that dude doesn't. I watched this guy at a restaurant. We were working at the restaurant one day, right? And this bee is in Austin. This bee flies in the restaurant. I'm like, Brian, kill the bee.
Yeah.
Brian can't kill the bee. He's like, this is a living thing. He
Yeah.
puts the bee in a cup, goes, releases
Yeah.
it outside.
Yeah.
The dude doesn't have it in him to hate anybody.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people like that on both sides.
Yeah. Oh no. I don't think black Democrats at all dislike somebody like me. I don't think most of the Democrat Party dislikes me or has any animosity towards me. I think it's like the 15% of the liberal white women that hate me, in all honesty. Like I really feel like, but they're the ones who are the loudest.
But
you know?
that's how it works on both sides.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
the extreme minorities that are the loudest voices in the room,
Yeah.
representing all of us, when
Yeah.
all of us wish they would just shut up.
Right.
Right? Most of us are not lunatics
Yeah.
on any side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most Americans want the same things, but that's kind of my point, right? Like, why can't we have those conversations? Why is it that I feel like we have been indoctrinated to hate each other like this?
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's crazy, man. I just don't believe that one party is trying to just, knowingly destroy America.
No, I don't think so either. I definitely think that that's like, say, Russian propaganda. I think that's all like just Russian propaganda, like trying to.
But the president's saying.
Oh
saying
yeah,
something.
for sure. And I mean, honestly, it's easy to fall for. It really is. It's easy to fall for because I can see things and I can be like, that's upsetting. And I'll think about it. I'm like, it's probably a Russian bot.
You want to see something crazy?
Sure.
Okay, are you able to pull my Facebook up?
Yeah.
Go to my profile real quick. Man, I'm just like, when I saw it late last night as I was laying in bed, man, and I was just like, why? I don't remember the dude's name. He's this black Republican, little loudmouth.
Which post?
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know why it created a link, but this Terrence Williams, is that his name? He's an influencer. He he's a big.
Oh yeah.
Right. So he made this post about how.
Gonna take us to it so
I
we can
don't-
see it better.
I don't think so.
Oops.
Oh, New York Post. You gotta watch them.
Here, let me see if I can.
You probably just go to his page and pull.
Whoops, too far.
Anyway, Senator Alex Padilla, right? What this guy is saying is, he says Senator Alex Padilla won by 2.3 million votes in his 2024 election, right? California had 2.7 million duplicate ballots counted in the 2024 election. That is why we need to pass the SAVE Act. Okay, so there are so many things wrong with this post.
Right.
Alex Padilla, his election was in 2022.
Right. Yeah,
He doesn't even run for a re-election until 2028 because senators serve 6-year terms. 2.7 million duplicate ballots weren't counted. There was 2.7 million duplicate registrations.
Mm.
That is not, for a state the size of California, that puts them marginally above the national average. Everything that this guy is saying is just complete
Right,
lie.
right. Twisting it to, yeah.
But when you look at this thing has been shared, 30,000 times. Thousands of likes. People will just see stuff like that and run with it. So when we talk about like the hate that people in America have for one another, at what point do we talk about what do we do about stuff like this? I mean, the onus should be on the person viewing it.
Yeah, for sure.
To
yeah.
like be like, okay, maybe I should ask myself, is that true? But you and I both know, man, people don't function that way, right?
No. I mean, I remember when you posted this up, I just kind of scrolled past it, and I read a little bit of it, but I read yours first. But if I would have seen that, I'd been like, oh, that's crazy, and it probably would have registered in my head somewhere, and then. Later on, I might have recalled a fact like, oh, yeah, there was 2.7 million.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, I feel like I've
read
done it
somewhere that there was 2.7 million duplicate ballots or, something like that.
I feel like I've done it before. I just feel like we got to be more diligent in terms of what we consume.
Yeah.
Especially with this AI stuff is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. Like,
there's a huge push, by the way, from like artists and stuff to like
musicians.
There was a video game that came out that they paid sponsorships for and stuff like that, and then people found out that they used some AI to develop the game, and everyone went ballistic. Like all like voice actors and artists and stuff like were calling it out, and what it is they were doing was they were making sure. Like they used what power they had right now to try and put a stop to it. But I mean, I think it's inevitable, like there's nothing they can do to stop it, but it's like
I saw it's some new app that's out where you can essentially create your own movies using AI to create
Seed Dance 2.0 or
something. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not sure, but like you can create your own actors.
Yeah.
And they look 100% real.
Oh yeah.
What is that going to do to Hollywood?
Man, what's it going to do? Hold on. Not just Hollywood, but what's AI going to do to women? Think about it. What jobs do women primarily have?
I don't know. I'll let
all jobs that AI is going to replace, right? Like that's the real focus that nobody thinks about. It's like, what's that going to do to women? Women aren't welders. Women don't work on cars. Not that they can't, obviously, but they just don't choose those things.
I'm over here like Josh.
Like they
I'm gonna let you dig this whole. Man, Mother's Day was yesterday.
Yeah, true.
I'm like,
or
happy Mother's Day to all the ladies out there. By the way, you're fantastic, wonderful mothers who can do anything you want,
like weld. But okay, so you see it as okay. Well, those are the jobs that are in danger.
Well, I mean, if you think of like front office, clerical, data entry stuff, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And so, but if you're a traditionalist, you're also like, well, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe that frees them up to have kids again and stuff like that. So it's like some people are seeing it as, oh, okay, we can get back to the America we used to be. And then there's other people who are like, oh no, this is the end of the, golden era times, so. I
mean, I just had a meeting with a couple like informal business partners. And we were talking about this exact same thing in our industry, right? So in oil and gas, mineral acquisition. AI is changing things even for us.
Yeah.
It's making it to where, like, if you're a mineral royalty purchaser, right? If you're like, that's what your company does, you're having to find new ways to get smart right now about how you compete with companies that are able to go in and purchase, software that can do the job of a landman in a matter of minutes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the women, land. I mean, I don't think this thing is going to spare too many people.
No,
And
no.
you listen to a lot of the conversations that I think most people who are in the know in terms of the impacts that AI is going to have on planet, the labor workforce. The one thing I keep hearing is learn a new skill.
Right. Yeah.
Like, don't wait for it to get here. Figure out whether you're good at something else.
Yeah.
Because there's a good chance that you're probably going to you might lose your job.
Yeah. Yeah. Learn to build something,
That's
you
what
know, well, who was it? Was it Biden or was it Obama that was like, tell those welders to learn to code? It's like, wait a second.
Actually,
Turn around.
Yeah. I'm over here like, man, I'm about to just become like a I'm glad that I found this woodworking thing, dude.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might just go
Retire
move.
on that.
Yeah, just live out of my car with
Your wife wouldn't let you do that.
no.
They like
my
they
daughter.
like houses.
My daughter wouldn't let me do
Yeah, true.
that. Man, I don't know. Like, there's for me, the biggest concern. It's I never stop thinking about it. What world is my daughter going to grow up in? What world is Sawyer going to grow
Yeah.
up in? Like, and maybe it's one of those things that's just like a natural thing as parents we worry about. Our parents, maybe they worried about the same thing.
Right.
I would venture to say, they probably didn't have the same. Maybe they worried as much, but the worries were different.
Right.
If that makes sense. And maybe it's just me. Maybe you don't worry like I worry.
No, I worry for sure. I don't worry for.
I guess Sawyer's a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna be okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely I worry and think, like, what does the future look like? But I also know, like, I have confidence that all my kids are smart. They'll figure it out. The only issue I have with them is whether they have any type of work ethic at all. But so who knows? But yeah, I mean, I think the thing that most people need to worry about, like, for the future is not falling into the trap of laziness. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's what AI is going to allow a lot of people to do. To get a lot lazier.
It's really interesting because, like, I feel like it's either going to make. Well, I feel like it's going to cause a pretty great disparity.
Yeah.
It's either going to make smart people like that much more smart. And if people don't take advantage of it for what it can do, and I think embrace it in recognition that there is no real stopping it,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like there's really anybody trying to slow this train down. I mean, the people that I think have the power to are doing nothing about it.
Right.
It seems.
Well, Elon Musk has been, like, telling everybody his concerns with it, but
Oh, they're
he's
all
not
saying that.
stopping.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, they're the folks at Anthropic, they're all telling us what they're concerned about.
yeah.
Okay. But now what?
Yeah.
'Cause it's them competing with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think we're like,
It's like
in
the-
the golden age of AI too, where it's much less restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's gonna come a time where every little function is gonna be something you pay for. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, you look at, think about when all these streaming services first started coming out,
yeah,
right? They were cheap. There were no advertisements. Yeah, I mean, it was great.
yeah,
Now you can't watch. I mean, you got to have like the Pro Plus Platinum plan
yeah,
if you don't want to watch ads every like 5 minutes.
yeah, yeah.
And then they still like increase like every so often, like you got to pay $3 more or whatever.
Oh yeah, all the time. Netflix when it started out wasn't it like $7.99. Now it's like, I don't even know, like $27.99 or something like that.
Think
But-
about the increase in the sort of revenue that means.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that is insane.
Yeah.
And they can do it just because they can do it.
Yeah, I actually made a lot of money on Netflix stock.
Did you buy some Netflix
I did
stock?
a long time ago.
Son
Yeah,
of a gun.
yeah,
Was
yeah.
this back whenever they still had it in like the 'cause
It was
Netflix
back.
started out as like Redbox, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's essentially what
I
it
think
was.
You
It
go to
was-
like the Walgreens or like the corner store or whatever.
no, so Netflix, it was an online service. They shipped you.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Redbox was an entirely
Yeah.
different. Redbox got put out of business because of
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yep.
Essentially.
Yep. And I bought Netflix whenever they were saying that it was when it was going out of business. This was before they started making movies. You know, whenever it was going out of business, I bought some and I put like, I don't know, $5,000 in it or something like that. And got up to like 10,000, then I took it out, but I wouldn't have. I mean, that'd probably be worth $100,000
Yeah.
right now. That was years ago that I took it out even, and I keep watching that stock. They tell you not to do that. They tell you to, like, once you sell or
Man, just forget
stop
about it.
and don't even look at it, you know, but I still go back and I'm like, oh man, I could have made so much more money.
I made the mistake of buying, like, it wasn't like a big investment. I invested like probably about like $500 in like some crypto.
Yeah.
You know, the decimal on that thing was like
Right. Yeah.
tiny piece.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's still like I have not. This was probably a year ago, and I don't think I've looked at it since. It could be gone. At this
Right,
point.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
not gone, but you know what I mean. Like
Worth zero.
worth zero.
Yeah.
I'm ready for like the blockbusters to start coming back.
Oh yeah, me too.
Imagine having a date night
Yeah.
where you go and you rent a movie instead of just like, let's see what's on Prime.
Right. Right.
Do you think we're ever gonna see like that reversion that happens in society sometimes?
It'll be a niche thing. Some
Like the
people will want it.
rollerblades.
Yeah. Some people will want it, and then I think for most people, like everything that like gets reinvented, it always gets reinvented like more in a more convenient manner, you know. So it's like there'll be some people who want it, who want to go through the trouble of doing it, you know. But
Yeah. It's gonna end up being out in like what's that weird little Marfa?
yes,
Like, we're gonna have a blockbuster in
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, we went from gerrymandering to blockbuster.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess that's a good sign then for it's probably
Yeah.
time to wrap it up. Man, you know what's starting to concern me
What's that?
is that I'm starting to hear, and I had a feeling it was gonna happen. We'll see. I don't want to speak this into existence, but I'm starting to get concerned, man, that like because of the way that Republicans are handling this, the backlash by the Dems is going to be so great. Where if this doesn't, I don't have faith that this is going to really work out in the long run for Republicans. I don't see how it does.
Yeah,
There doesn't seem to be any meat on the bones to anything that we're doing right now. I don't know how this is sustainable. But if Democrats like, my concern is that the backlash is going to be big,
right,
fierce, and unhelpful.
right. Well, yeah.
Which,
I agree
You
with
know,
that.
we could be very well, but I just don't like, why are Republicans not thinking through this lens of, oh my gosh, what would this look like if this was being done to us?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm telling you. Everything I'm seeing from like my timeline is like, this is the end of the Democrat Party. And like, it's almost a
But-
celebration.
That's
And like,
crazy
to
to
me, I'm like, it's kind of like a frightening prospect to me. I'm like, we've had these two parties for forever. And
That's really what you're seeing. Like,
oh yeah.
what? Like,
Yeah.
man, people
Yeah.
are celebrating this.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Yep. And to me, I'm just like, okay, so if it is the end of the Democrat Party, they're not just going to sit around. Like, if you actually believe it, they're not just going to sit around and do nothing.
And so what? So what?
You know?
I mean, also, one party rule. Like, that's what we're doing here now.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not democracy.
No, at all. Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's what I'm saying. We need to
That's
stop
crazy, dude.
like we need to stop all these loopholes and stuff. Like that's what I'm saying. Turn it to hard mode for everyone. So that way policies and leadership win over who can find the best loophole.
I gotta,
You know?
dude. That's why I gotta kind of. I don't know. Maybe I just need to think about that. That is actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
This,
Yep.
do you ever go through the comments on stuff and see what
Oh,
other people
yeah.
are saying? What are
They're-
other people saying? Everybody's like, "This
Backing them, yeah.
this
Like
is
heck
great.
yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah, and to me, I'm like that is what's more frightening to me is because also it's like we talk about a civil war or whatever. If the Democrat Party really like that's one step closer to that too. You know what I'm saying?
Half the country isn't going to just like. I mean, I don't really believe that this is the end of the Democratic
Yeah,
Party, right?
yeah.
Like that. I mean, that's crazy to me. But the fact that half of our country is excited at the prospect of that
Yeah.
is concerning to me.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've multiple places.
I
seen
feel
it.
like, I mean, man, I feel like I should write something about that.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you could make something out of it for sure.
I don't know. I just didn't even know that was like a. I mean, I've seen it, like people obviously talking about it, right? Like, oh yeah, like I said, own the libs.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that like it was ever like a we want them gone.
Yeah. 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 But that's what I'm saying though. There's also opportunity in it because like I see that and I'm like I try to like to me I kind of see it in a different way that they do. I'm like there's also opportunity in it
Like
for the
this
Democrat
version
Party.
of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, like I'm okay
Maybe-
with that version disappearing and let's turn it into a better version. That's like if they
I hear what you
if they could put their brains together they won't, but if they could, and they'd be like, you know what? Let's take this opportunity to build
Oh, wow.
a platform really worth backing. Like they could really turn it into something,
I just, man, you've given me a lot to think about.
You know what it is? The UK is always like a precursor to what happens in the US.
Is
At least
it?
I've always heard that.
But is that true?
And you know how there's always new parties popping up
Because
in the UK.
I view a precursor to what I think more along the lines of Rome
Yeah.
eating itself
Well, yeah.
than the UK. I mean, like, dude, man.
I've
That's
I've
crazy.
heard that for a long time. Like people say, like that's if you want to know what's going to happen in America's future, like UK is always the precursor.
Mm.
And there it's not like it doesn't seem to be all that abnormal for new parties to just pop up out of nowhere and start catching steam. So
No, but like I think that you can have two. France, for example, right? Like they have like 20, 30 different parties.
right,
I think having too many, it gets to a point where if there's too many parties, that's not helpful either.
right,
What I would love, more so than anything, is for there to just be no parties.
yeah, that'd
for
be
peop-
great.
For people to actually view ideas based off the merit and the quality of the idea,
Yeah,
as opposed to who came up with it.
yeah,
No, that's not real. But like, I've always believed that I'm fine with having two main parties. We just need a strong, viable third party in America.
right, yep,
Because if we can have a strong, viable third party that serves as what's the word? A centrifugal force keeping
Yeah.
the shit together.
yeah, yeah,
It's going to force the left and the right to use a little bit more common sense
yeah,
and not speak well, I guess I shouldn't speak, but not allow the fringes to speak for them.
right,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
We need a strong third party in this country. The libertarians, independents, that ain't what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a strong third party with a completely new platform. I mean, we've talked about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. Or I'm loose and fast and loose. With it.
I don't
But
even
that-
know how you start something like that. Like, I don't even know. Like,
When you you get signatures.
yeah.
You get enough signatures. Get your name on a ballot.
Yeah, I guess so.
The crazy thing is, I think that like, and I've seen this multiple places. There is more people in the center right now than there ever has,
Right.
who are just kind of, sick and tired of it all. I'm sick and tired of it all, man.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many better ways to do. I feel like absolutely everything. It's like,
Everything.
But
Ugh,
I don't know.
we got to get through this moment, man.
Yeah.
Like we got to get through. I know we feel differently about Trump. To me, this guy's just. It seems like he's tanking it on purpose.
I'm not 100% sure. So I think our feelings on Trump are probably the same, but I think our takeaways are different. Like for me, like my takeaway is like, okay, but I can't get behind the Democrat Party, like, because I feel like
But
they
here's
hate
the-
me, stuff like that.
Okay, but here's the thing: you don't
but-
have to.
Right.
I'm not, dude, and I don't like. I know people see me this way, but that's fine. I don't care how people see
Yeah.
me. I'm not some raging liberal
Right,
all of a
yeah.
sudden.
Yeah.
I just know this dude ain't it.
Right. Yeah.
He's not it.
Yeah.
I
And that's
can't
what I'm saying.
support this.
I can absolutely see better candidates, better people for the job, but I just don't see that in the Democrat Party, in all honesty.
Dude, no, the Democrats don't. Again, the Democrats
Yeah.
don't see that in the Democrat
Yeah.
Party.
But
This
it
is what
goes
the
back to
misconception is, right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people think that the Democratic Party in some way is a unified, cohesive party.
Right.
Dude, like Democrats are pulling their hair out right now because you got Chuck Schumer on one side and you got AOC on the other.
Yeah.
Neither of which represents, I think, the vast majority of Democrats.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like one is like that old turtle from the Never-Ending Story. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he reminds me of that. And the other is she's just, she's just kind of loud and immature and like
Yeah.
not. And I think AOC, some of her ideas aren't ridiculous. Overall, though, she's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say she's gotten more serious over the years as she's, I think, matured in politics.
Right.
But the Democrats, that's always been their problem. The face of that party has just never really even spoke and been able to, I mean, since Obama?
Right.
Obama was the last like Democrat to like give that party some energy.
Yeah. I feel like, and it's insane to me. I feel like, and that's why sometimes I'm like, maybe there is like a backdoors handshakes going on. So I'm like, I feel like if you or I or even some other normal person took over the Democrat Party, they could find one Democrat who's normal, sane, put him up there on the podium,
Yeah,
and he'd blow it out.
it wouldn't be Jon Stewart. You should look this up because it's pretty telling. Jon Stewart is interviewing the head. I want to say it's the head of the DNC, and he's asking this guy, like, what is it with why can Democrats not get it together?
Yeah.
Why do y'all always put up these lousy candidates who like are so unrelatable? Every time it's like y'all just look for people to be like, oh, yep, black, yep, woman,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
Check. It's like y'all are checking boxes. Why do y'all never put up a good candidate to get people excited and talk about issues that actually matter to people?
Right.
Right? That actually impact people, not a specific tiny portion of the population that your own party doesn't really agree with you on. And the dude's response is just like,
What do you say?
it's this the whole time he is sitting there and agreeing with everything that Jon Stewart is saying, and it's almost like he's not really coming up with any like original thoughts of his own.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart will say something. He'll be like, "Nope, you're exactly right." Jon Stewart's like, "Yeah,
So do it.
But what do you think?
Yeah.
Like, tell me what you think." And the guy's just like, and he starts using all these big fancy words that don't mean anything.
Yeah.
And it's proving his point. He's like, y'all kind of suck.
Yeah.
And like, even your base knows it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can't y'all get it together? I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Man, and
Joe Biden.
Yeah. And they're thinking
Joe Biden was the guy.
they're thinking about running Kamala again. I forget what show. I think it was CNN or something. And the Republican guy on there was like, "Please run Kamala again. Like, please."
It's just like, it's frustrating on both sides of it.
Yeah.
Man. It's so frustrating on both sides of it. On one hand, you have like the nonstop chaos and just the daily embarrassment that I feel from having Trump being the face of this night. Like, he's embarrassing. Like, the dude, his mother's like, okay, so my buddy Mike, the one that owns the bakery, told him, because he was telling me, he was like, you need to go back and look at every like post Trump's ever made on Christmas. Easy thing to do with AI now, right?
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Every Christmas.
What's he say?
The most vile, like hateful Christmas messages. Merry Christmas to everybody, except the Dems trying to destroy America.
Yeah,
and you just immediately will launch into some like, and you're just like, dude, Mother's Day.
He's stressed out. His credit cards are, stacking up because Christmas.
Anyway, man, we could. This has been fun, man.
Yeah.
I feel like we covered enough.
Figured it all out.
Always do, man.
Yeah.
We got all the answers.
Yeah,
right?
we do. Every time.
Yep. Well, for anybody who tuned in, we appreciate you. And again, happy Mother's Day. Happy late Mother's Day.
Yes.
I hope all the beautiful, wonderful mothers out there had a great weekend. All everything that you were gifted and so much more. Thank you for what you do. You can be welders.
That's right.
Josh. Anyway, appreciate y'all tuning in. We will do this again next week, 8:30, same time. Until then, be kind and take care. See
ya.
y'all later.